Climate change is transforming our world, causing us to question old certainties and abandon long-standing practices. To adapt, we'll need to do a rethink. Welcome to this new edition of EcoAfrica. I am Sandra Twinobudio, joining you from Kampala, here in Uganda.
And I'm Chris Alem saying hello from Nigeria. Sometimes a rethink can also mean reviving old traditions, as one of our reports shows. And here's what else is coming up today. We head to Tanzania to see how trees are managing to survive despite ongoing drought. Go to France, where researchers are turning to invasive plants to make environmentally friendly cosmetics. And go to Lake Turkana in Kenya, where the El Molo fishing people are fighting to preserve their way of life.
Our first report takes us to Tunisia, where conditions in schools are often shocking. In some cases, they are no longer a safe environment for the students. Mismanagement and economic woes have taken a heavy toll on public boarding schools, attended by some of the country's poorest children. Now, these are often the worst affected. This is why a Tunisian NGO is aiming to build a brighter future for kids by turning schools into social enterprises.
The sight of students congregating in a courtyard looks much the same the world over. But this boarding school in northwestern Tunisia is different from most. It operates on a sustainable business model. Project initiator Lotfi Hamadi aims to improve living conditions, education opportunities and future prospects not just for Tunisia's most impoverished children, but their families too.
The Walla We Can project is quite simple. It seeks to transform public schools into social enterprises through energy autonomy and food self-sufficiency. Why? Because this country is going through very deep crises, economic, social and climate crises that have an impact on childhood and therefore on future generations.
When Hamadi first visited the school in 2012, it was in a catastrophic state. The facilities were dilapidated, the electrical systems hazardous. There was no insulation or heating, although temperatures here regularly drop below freezing in the winter. The institution was so short of money, boarding students could only have one shower a month. Pupils were falling sick. Such conditions are unfortunately common in Tunisia's schools, especially in poorer rural areas. The country's once renowned education system is ailing. Over 100,000 pupils drop out each year. But now applications at this school in the town of Maktar are up and absenteeism down. Ameni Ben Ammar attended the school until last year.
The school helped us realise we can dream, because before we didn't dream. Now we do, and we are confident that we will achieve our dreams.
The school's transformation was initiated by taking advantage of a plentiful resource, the sun. Hamadi's NGO raised money to install solar water heaters so the boarders could take regular hot showers for the first time. Over 100 solar panels now produce 4 times more electricity than the school uses. The excess has enabled the project to settle outstanding power bills and supply electricity to 3 more schools. Insulating the dormitories also lowered energy consumption and costs. Food autonomy is another important pillar in the self-sustaining model. An 8-hectare farm ensures the students get healthy and balanced meals. Surplus produce is sold to local shops or wholesale markets, providing the school extra income. But the land bears more fruit than that.
We offered agricultural training to parents who were out of work, and now they've become entrepreneurs because we also set up an agricultural business and made them shareholders.
The farm employs 8 parents who now receive fair pay and other benefits like social security. Shayeb has been working here for over a year.
The Walla We Can project means everything to me. I used to be unemployed, but it's changed my life completely.
To cope with the increasingly sparse rainfall, drought-tolerant vegetables have been planted and drip irrigation installed.
This allows us to water just along the line the seeds have been sown. That way, only the amount needed is used and no water is wasted. It also keeps weeds from growing.
Funds generated were used to refurbish buildings and add features like sports facilities. Basketball is one of over a dozen extracurricular activities on offer. This group is mixed gender.
I've been here for 2 years, and this is where all my friends and teachers are. My siblings and I have been coming here for the club since I was little. I was so happy when I heard there was going to be a basketball club. There are other clubs, but I chose basketball because I love it.
Another popular course is music. Robotics, web design and entrepreneurship are also on offer. And there's a reproductive health programme. Numerous civil society initiatives are working to improve Tunisia's schools, but the Wallah We Can project is seen as unique by many for its long-term vision with sustainability at its core.
The results have been very positive so far, and that's all down to efficiency, by making use of what's available, by exploiting the power of the sun. That's very important. And hopefully, this model can be adapted and applied in other places.
Lotfi Hamadi has his sights set on exactly that. He plans to replicate the model developed here in 3 other regions and ultimately throughout Tunisia. After all, the Wallah We Can maxim is, let's invest in children to build a better future.
We've often reported on EcoAfrica about the damage done by invasive plants such as water hyacinth. In France, Japanese knotweed is also infamous for displacing native plant species. Scientists at the University of Montpellier have discovered a surprising feature of the invader, as you discover in this week's Doing Your Bit.
Every cut helps. Japanese knotweed has spread all along the Hérault River in southern France. The invasive species has displaced many native plants here, and its shallow roots are putting the riverbanks at risk of erosion. Researchers at Montpellier University are clearing the knotweed. They've discovered it has surprising properties. Crushed, dried, and ground into powder, it can dramatically speed up chemical processes.
It's either the roots or the leaves, which are rich in minerals, metallic minerals of interest. They'll be thermally treated to obtain this vegetable powder. The vegetable powder is already itself an eco-catalyst, that is to say, a reaction booster which will allow us to transform a simple molecule into a more complex molecule.
The researchers say this so-called eco-catalyst could make the manufacture of products like face creams more environmentally friendly.
The field of cosmetics today still uses mineral or petrochemical catalysts. This idea of plant-based catalysts has never been developed before.
The researchers have already developed at least 60 plant-based catalysts. They're now being marketed by a startup at the University of Montpellier.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
Wow, new product from nature. We also need new product for nature. In other words, we need to rethink our production methods to ensure we don't cause even more environmental devastation. For example, the construction industry is responsible for almost 40% of CO2 emissions worldwide.
That is right, Chris. And concrete, which is made with cement, is the climate killer, largely responsible for that statistic. Construction sites here in Africa already use as much cement as in Europe, and that upward trend looks set to continue. So it is high time to start recycling this building material. A few farms in Germany are doing just that.
Germany creates 280 million tons of concrete waste every year. But at least this rubble will soon be repurposed into new concrete. A company in southern Germany specializes in recycling building materials. A crushing machine turns the concrete pieces into small granules, which are sorted by size. The granules are then sold to cement manufacturers.
On-site processing can save millions of truck kilometers.
Sand used to produce concrete is usually dug from large pits, then transported hundreds of kilometers. The same is true for gravel, the second component in concrete. But sand and gravel are becoming scarce. At this construction recycling plant, old red roofing tiles are also used to produce concrete. Recycled sand is taken from an old construction pit. It's cleaned and sieved before being sorted by size.
Everything here used to be a bridge or a floor slab or a house, and we're making something new from it. All this material would have ended up in landfills, in some dump, and now we can use it to make high-quality building products that are used in new construction projects.
The recycled products are then delivered to customers, like to this nearby concrete manufacturer. This company is different than most of its competitors, because globally only 2% of building materials get recycled. But this company depends on recycled materials, which account for 30% of its entire production. And the recycled concrete is less expensive too. The materials are mixed in this plant and then delivered to customers. The final product will look like this, a building material that many customers prefer over conventional products.
It's becoming more popular because people understand that we have to conserve resources, and that's why demand is now greater than before.
Other solutions are also being developed at this cement plant. For example, permeable concrete that can absorb rainwater, helping improve urban climates.
Rainwater seeps through this concrete and goes underground, which can help improve groundwater levels.
This could help prevent concrete deserts with completely sealed surfaces. And recycled construction materials are also brought to this southern German company. They are constantly testing new stone formulas in the lab, experimenting with different colours, shapes and components to increase the portion of recycled content, which is 30 to 40%. The recycled look is intentional.
We're primarily talking about upcycling. We want to produce a very high-quality design. This tile pattern creates an entirely new surface.
This is what it should look like, a new generation of recycled sidewalk with lots of green grass sprouting up in between and space for water to seep into the ground. This is what many customers now want, a new growth market for the concrete industry.
Many regions of Africa also have ground surfaces which don't let water through, but for a completely different reason. It is because the rain seasons fail, leaving much of the ground dry and hard as concrete. So, when it does rain, the water can't be absorbed and simply runs off. So what can farmers do? Our next report takes us to the Arusha region in Tanzania, where an initiative is putting a simple but effective idea into practice.
Here in Engaruka, a village in northern Tanzania, hardly anyone has a TV. That's why Linda Mlimbo brings a small mobile cinema with her. She was here a few months ago on behalf of the LEAD Foundation, a Tanzanian conservation organization. I want to show a film about Kisiki High here today. Kisiki High means living tree stump. We will start with announcements in the village, and later in the evening we will show the film. It's still early afternoon and the villagers are in their fields, digging in the bone dry earth. Holes in the earth as far as the eye can see. It seems like all 7,000 residents are out and about. They are digging here because of another movie presented by Linda Mlimbo and the LEAD Foundation in partnership with a Dutch NGO called Just Dig It. John Mune remembers it well as he digs a trench and fills it with grass seed.
The film taught me that you can do something about the dryness and drought of recent years. We can till the land and create water basins, which we fill with seeds to help the fields recover.
It's 5 p.m. and Linda Mlimbo's colleague makes an announcement that the film screening is taking place that evening. It's a welcome change for the villagers. They only get to see a film every few months. The children are excited to see what's coming. This film explains how to protect your land from drought. People have cut down their trees many times in recent years. The land became barren and the harvests got worse. Now we want to show people how to reclaim that moisture so that their yields increase and they have enough pasture to feed their families. It's finally show time. It starts with Jay Mondi, a very popular comedian in Tanzania.
Don't let me catch you cutting down any more trees, or I'll fry you like an egg in my pan. I'm declaring war. Let's do it together. I don't want to see any more trees chopped down. Don't you want it to rain?
Everyone in Engaruka wants rain, and the film is well received. People here have become familiar with drought over the past few years. What it means to be thirsty all day long. The film showed the villagers that small shrubs or tree stumps can grow into large trees if given a chance. First viable plants are selected. Next, they are pruned so that the only strongest shoots remain. Then the trees must be marked for everyone to see. And importantly, the plants must be protected from hungry cattle. According to the campaign, this method has managed to save over 9 million trees in Tanzania. A regreening measure of this magnitude has an impact on the local weather and can also bring rain. This means the country will cool down and crop yields will improve, at least in theory. In Engaruka, it's still a dream though. The last months have seen less precipitation than in previous years, which is one reason why they are digging rain basins. According to the campaign, there are now over 200,000 such basins in Tanzania and Kenya. People here earn €1.50 per basin. Diligent workers like Dina Hosia can manage 5 a day. We make money digging now. Later, when the grass has grown, it will benefit both our cattle and us because we save ourselves the trouble of carrying food to the cattle. If we employ these practices, they help us to take care of our livestock. Rainwater normally evaporates on the dry soil, but now it can collect in the basins. This gives the water more time to seep into the soil, and this allows vegetation to grow not only inside the basins, but also around them. This regreening program is in full swing and gaining in popularity. Strategies like this one have an impact on the global climate and could even help to slow down global warming. And the people of Engaruka are doing their part.
Well, staying here in East Africa, we now look for answers to the pressing question. How can people ensure food security in the face of climate crisis? This issue is particularly urgent for people who live on the shores of Lake Turkana in northern Kenya. The El Molo people have long relied on fishing, but that is becoming increasingly difficult. The entire community is under threat. We paid them a visit.
Alexander Lenapir looks out over the lake that's been the source of life for his people for centuries. The El Molo are an ethnic group that live in the north of Kenya's eastern province. Born in 1958, Lenapir has watched his culture slowly disappear over the years due to migration, intermarriage, and more recently, climate change. And now the El Molo are losing their land and sacred sites too. Rising water levels in Lake Turkana have engulfed roughly 800 square kilometers of land over the course of a decade, enlarging the lake by 10%.
In the past, there wasn't any water here. It didn't reach this far. Now the water has completely flooded our village. There used to be roads here, but now there is only water everywhere you look. Most of our manyatas were just swallowed up. They've totally disappeared.
As rainfall became heavier and more frequent, the lake expanded and changed the landscape so much that Lenapir's village was suddenly situated on an island. Many moved as a result. The others had to make major adjustments. Not only was the path to the mainland now submerged, so was their freshwater pumping station. Now they get their water from the lake, which leaves them susceptible to diseases. Like most here, Lenapir has been a fisherman all his life. But ironically, the expanding lake has actually devastated his livelihood. Before the waters rose, he would catch about 100 fish a day. Now he averages less than 10. Fish can be found in deeper waters, but the boats aren't safe enough to take out that far. Less fish means less income and less to eat, putting a further strain on local families. The children's lives are affected in other ways too. There are 2 schools at El Molo Bay, but the primary school is now partially submerged.
In the past, we could walk to school. But when the flooding turned our land into an island, that was no longer possible. Then the county government provided boats for us to get there.
An often overlooked side effect of global warming is school disruption. It threatens both the physical safety and psychosocial well-being of students and teachers. Richard Smaron is observing a drop in academic performance as well as attendance. The once crowded classrooms are often half empty. Smaron, who's been teaching for 20 years, says he's never witnessed anything like this.
Climate change affects the existence of
Climate change is threatening the existence of the El Molo tribe because we fully depend on the lake for food. If we don't have fish, we suffer. We don't have fish to sell and buy balanced meals. Not only is part of the village submerged, but so are the water pipes, which destroyed our access to fresh drinking water.
But the El Molo are still fighting to uphold their traditional customs and culture. While up to 1,000 people identify themselves as El Molo, most are from families that have intermarried with other tribes in the region like the Turkana, Samburu and Rendile. That too has diluted their unique identity. But they want to preserve what they have and are looking for ways to make the situation more tenable. Francis Mundia is a climate scientist based in the Lake Turkana Basin. He says putting in trees would be one relatively simple yet effective step in the right direction.
It will reduce the level of water that is going to Lake Turkana, as well as it will reduce the erosion that is also goes to Lake Turkana.
Planting trees could help, but it would also mean giving up arable land. And most importantly, it wouldn't help immediately. The fate of this small community starkly illustrates the severity of the climate crisis. The El Molo have lived in this area for 2,000 years. If nothing changes, it could all be lost in within just 1 decade.
If we don't manage to mitigate the effect of climate change, we might soon all be facing the same challenges as the El Molo people. That's food for thought for me and for all of us. And that brings us to the end of our show. I'm Chris Alems, signing off from Ogun State, Nigeria.
And it is a goodbye from me too, Sandra Twinovidio, here in Uganda. And of course, don't forget you can always stay in touch with us on all our social media channels. Or even better, write to us if you have any good ideas on how to protect the environment. So long for now. Take care.